What do you get when you mix a childhood UFO sighting, a boundary-breaking music studio, and a life-altering cancer diagnosis? In this raw and expansive episode, I sit down with my dear friend Rip Perkins for a soulful conversation that flows from cosmic encounters to creative embodiment, and ultimately, what it means to truly heal. Let's get into it. Welcome to Star Potential, a podcast where we explore the meaning of our existence while having a few laughs and sometimes tears through stories from the road of life. I'm your host, Julie Jo Hughes. As a stage performer, my life is quite literally about song and dance. I believe that life here on Earth is a playground for discovery, not a contest to be won. We ask questions together like, how do I evolve my consciousness? And how do you sing a passionate ballad when there's an old guy in the front row with his balls showing? True story. Stick around for these fun conversations. Today's episode is a journey through music, mystery, and a medical miracle using the medicine of the mind. Did you like that alliteration? I'm joined by my friend Rip Perkins, an artist, producer, founder of a collaborative music studio that prioritizes intuition and co-creation. We begin by exploring his early experiences with the unknown, including a UFO sighting that shaped his perception of reality, and dive into the ways music became a sacred outlet for integration and expression. But this conversation goes even deeper. Rip opens up about his recent cancer diagnosis and the transformative healing path that followed. From navigating physical illness to accessing emotional and energetic truths, Rip shares with us what it really means to face the unknown with presence and power. If you're in a soul shift of your own, or just crave a real multi-dimensional dialogue, this one's for you. I'm here today with a very special friend and guest. This is Richard Rip Perkins. I've actually never called you Richard. You're just Rip to me. But
Most
you're not
people.
a just anything. You're all kinds of things.
Oh, stop. Oh, please.
But thank you.
Julie.
Yes.
It's a pleasure to be with you. Like I told you earlier, I'm a big fan, always have been, and so I'll support any endeavor that you choose to go down.
Oh, thank you. Well, the feeling is mutual, and I always feel that love from you. You're such a gracious spirit, and not to mention giving us the use of your space today. Thank you so much for letting us record here at the Mo.
Well, today it's our space.
Oh, I love that. Well, you're all about collaboration. The Mo, that's what this place is about, right?
Indeed, it
It's
is.
a collaborative space for all kinds of artists.
Yes.
And so, yeah, I feel very fortunate to get to be the recipient of that today with you.
It would be nice if someone might come around once in a while and hang out and jam with us and sing, but
You're
I know
right.
she's busy, so anyway, we won't go there. But thank you for saying that.
I'll tell my friend you said so.
Yeah, good.
No, thank you so much. I know that invitation is always graciously put on the table, and I appreciate it.
Absolutely, it is for you.
Well, it was music that brought us together initially.
What I love about music.
Yeah,
People you meet.
you are all about the universal language of music. Is that something that was always with you as a child, or when did you discover that? Because I don't think there's an instrument in here that I haven't seen you pick up and play at some point.
I was fortunate to be able to travel a lot when I was, younger. For having a very successful window washing business in Newport, it gave me the chance to travel, and anywhere I would go, I could pick up a guitar and not speak the language, but start doing Beatles or Elvis songs, and instant friends and connection. And it really showed me the importance of music and how it can bring people of different cultures and languages together. And we need the arts. It's a vital part of our humanity, and hopefully, our evolution, that we can get past all the other not so groovy things about humanity. And the arts is a good catalyst for that. So I found that out, in my late teens. And been an advocate ever since.
Oh, wow.
Everything music, yes.
And then you just kept exploring. So how did you get familiar on all the instruments? Just pick them up and try them?
So in Balboa, one of my window washing clients was Dick Dale. He lived on the very end house by the Wedge, the other half of the Gillette mansion, and I started roadieing for him.
Oh, wow.
And he was my hero. He was amazing. He would start with his guitar, and then he would do a trumpet solo, and then he would play the bass with drumsticks backwards, and then do a keyboard and then drum solo. And he was just an amazing performer. And I just would watch him in awe. And I was like, I love that. That's what I want to do. So I just, and it's just time on the court.
Yeah.
The more time you spend, different instruments, you just kind of, that's why I encourage everyone here to play something different when they're here. Because after a year of doing that, lo and behold, you're going to be, a drummer can become a bassist and vice versa. So every drummer should play a little bass and every bassist a little drums. And, it's a good, and that's the beautiful thing about music is the constant never-ending learning curve. It's for me, it's brain candy.
Absolutely. I love that. And I feel like we can draw so many parallels from that, just life. It's like we say everybody should wait tables for at least 6 months in their life,
Absolutely.
Just putting yourself in a different perspective or put the shoe on the other foot sometimes is so interesting to, like you're saying, make a drummer play bass for a while, and it makes him a better drummer.
It does indeed. Yeah. It's just like Kevin, is a perfect example of that. He now can play bass because I made him play bass every time he comes, and now he's becoming a bass. And he goes, I appreciate that so much because I love playing bass, and that's my take on it. Is you ask me what's my favorite instrument, and I'm happy playing a shaker, percussion doesn't matter. I just love the process, and that's again the beauty of music. It's the learning curve just is constant. So
yes, it is. Well, okay, let's talk a little more about your childhood. So I'm going to dive right in, and there was something profound that happened to you when you were a teenager, I believe, right?
Yeah. So
set the stage for us a little bit.
I was in Balboa, and I had my window company going, and behind Bal Harbor Liquor was garage storage units, and I had a band. It was my first studio. And one night we were done rehearsing. It was like 1 a.m. We came out, and it was like midwinter, so it wasn't busy. And we noticed this orange hue as we walked out. And when we looked up, we saw this. We thought it was a blimp at first, but it was a huge metallic cylinder coming in from over the, from out the ocean. Because the Balboa Peninsula is right there, maybe a quarter mile wide. You have the Balboa Ferry, and then the Balboa Pier. And this thing was coming overhead and almost to Balboa Island, and the other half was still out over the ocean.
Wow.
So it blocked out everything above us. And there was patrons in the class of 47. It was a bar that was right across from our studio. The guys on the ferry, and a couple waiting for the last ferry of the night. So we all kind of converged and were looking up at this thing, trying to process what we were seeing.
Yes.
And what happened next is what really blew us away. It just kind of tilted up and then just disappeared. And we all the gal in my band, keyboard player, she just started bawling. Crying. It was such an unexpected, profound thing to see, and it changed my life. I had to figure out what it was and why and how it did what it did. So I started going to the library and finding everything I could, and I finally figured out the only thing that could explain that would be quantum mechanics and physics, and it changed my life. And I went a long time and never talked about it. But now we do. Actually, we're going to have one in a couple weeks, like symposiums here, so people can come and talk about things they might have seen and not be ridiculed by it.
Oh wow!
So it's.
I'd like to check that out.
Yeah. The last one we did was it was great, and since I came out of the closet with that, I'm surprised at how many people would notify me and contact me and say, you know what, that's amazing. I saw something, or I know someone that saw something. So I was surprised at how many people, would see something but never talk about it because they didn't want to be ridiculed by it.
Right.
So which is understandable.
Yeah. So okay, when you're harboring something like that, that has to affect a lot of parts of you, I would think. So how long did you kind of carry this with you before you started sharing it? Right away?
So this was before the internet. And then when the internet came along, news groups were the thing. That was like the first social media, ALT, everything. And so I started researching, the cylinder thing that I saw, and found out that other people from Australia and Europe and China, I mean, all over the world had seen these things, and so we could discuss it. And that gave me a big sigh of relief because it wasn't the standard saucer type UFO thing. It was this huge, I mean, the size of an aircraft carrier.
Wow.
That just, and no sound, you know. I mean, it was literally 10,000 feet above us, took out everything. It was a slight shh, but no sound. I mean, it was just such a mind-blowing experience. And so that gave me a lot of, and then I really went on a quest to try and figure out how it did what it did. And because of that, and the same quantum mechanics fit, I figured out the singularity of our Big Bang, multiverses that came from another dimension, and I had equations that could show that. And this was 25 years ago, and people laughed at me. Now it's becoming, most physicists agree that that's probably exactly what's going on.
Wow.
So and for me, I knew for a fact that that's how it is, but I never tried to be cocky about it. But I said, that's the only thing that makes sense.
Right.
And now it's, that's because, I mean, Stephen Hawking figured out that, yes, we had a singularity and a Big Bang, and it took off from somewhere, but where did it come from? So I figured out where it came from, another dimension. When subparticles when there's a big energy event, like we see these galaxy clusters colliding, and that's an energy event on a scale that we can't even, but anyway, the subatomic particles get dispersed from their host nucleus, and they cling to other subparticles and create a whole new dimension with completely different laws of physics. And this goes on and on.
Oh, with
and
different
on.
laws of physics?
Yes, quite possibly, because of depending on the atomic structure that comes from that point.
Oh, sure.
And from that singularity. And so I think it's an infinite loop and it's a mind-blowing concept, because that means that there's a version of you in a different dimension where every decision you make plays out, where you have a life to where Elvis is still alive and JFK didn't get assassinated. And that's a mind-blowing thing to try and get across to people, but that's exactly what it means. So
okay, so let's talk about the idea of entanglement, right? That anytime two particles, I don't have the physics language that you do, but I have a basic understanding that if they've ever been in contact, there's a communication that remains forever, right?
Well, and these particles can communicate from different sides of the galaxy, and it's not like one says something, the other reacts. It's as this particle is saying something, the other, as this particle says jump, this one's already jumping,
right?
And that's instantaneous, and that opens the door to so many mind-blowing concepts that can happen. And so the particle collider in CERN, the AI Astro, the AI computer, just made an observation and after weeks of making sure that there wasn't any glitches in the system and that it was had to come from another dimension. Wow. And they haven't published it yet, but that's just like, ooh, yeah, okay, I was right.
So it's just confirming all
and
these
I knew it
things
was just a matter of time.
Wow.
And back when they were building the collider, I predicted that they would, one of the first things that would probably happen is it would confirm the Higgs boson, which is the God particle, that they call it. And sure enough, and I was off by 6 months, but sure enough, the timeline, they confirmed it. So that got me a lot of attention. Even though I was anonymous, they're like, how does he know that? And it just made sense that would be one of the first things they would try and do, is confirm this otherwise then theoretical particle. So yeah, it's the cool thing about quantum mechanics is it really does explain the universe and how everything works, and orbital mechanics and all that stuff. So it's been a fascination for me.
Right.
My whole adult life. I mean, it keeps me on my toes. And the crazy thing about it is the more you learn and discover, the more questions that arise.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yes, which is just exciting.
Yes,
because then you just get
exciting.
more and more curious, right?
It's very exciting.
Okay, well, now that we have this connection, now I've got a bunch more questions, right?
Right.
Yeah, I'm so curious as to, do you have personal experiences in your life where you feel like, knowing that there are these other versions of you and other people out there, this idea of jumping timelines, do you ever feel like sometimes you made a decision that maybe turned the course of where things were going and you kind of jumped over here, or is it just that they're all playing out simultaneously all the time?
Not necessarily. I came to a conclusion that if we train the synapses in our brain to tell the particles in our body that when this shell is gone, to retain these memories, because the particles that make up our consciousness do not disappear with our bodies. They're transferred somewhere into something. And that's the first law of thermodynamics, right? Neither created nor destroyed within a contained environment, only transference.
Yes.
And I'm convinced, I mean, I try not to prove anything to anybody, but I'm convinced that that can happen. You just have to be cognizant of the fact that you can do it. And meditate and tell yourself, when I'm gone, I want to retain these memories wherever I end up. And it could be in a different dimension even. Because, I mean, that, the life force has to come from somewhere.
Yes.
And I think when we're born, we're not born with a consciousness we take from basically a particle cloud where consciousness is kept. And we take from that cloud, when this is gone, it goes back into that cloud.
Okay.
Particle cloud. It's kind of a layman's way of saying it, but that's basically how I think it works. So it's,
back into a
which
collective,
is very cool.
right?
Yeah, it's which was, and I wasn't looking for that. It just kind of happened along with the equations that I was doing. It's like it made perfect sense that it could happen like that, and something has to happen to these particles when our carbon-based shell is gone.
Right.
So that was quite to discover that it kind of freaked me out because 15 years ago I'd say no, when we're gone we're worm food, that's it. Nothing happens, and now I was wrong. So that shows you that I can be wrong.
Right.
I was wrong for a long time in thinking that.
I went through that part of the journey too. Like I really wanted to understand, and through trying to understand what God is and what who we all are, then I went through the period of thinking like, no, I think just like once we're out, and that's it.
Sure.
And then I've come back around to like, no, that doesn't make sense, actually.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you want an organized religion, you can't go wrong with the Buddha. The Buddhas basically had, the whole idea of reincarnation or whatever. They're onto something there because that's exactly how the universe works. Now I'm convinced of it. So that's and that's an old, that goes back a long time, those teachings.
Yes.
And are you familiar with ancient astronaut theory?
I'm not sure
on
I
the
am.
History Channel, there's like,
well, do you mean just the extraterrestrials have been here many times?
Yeah. It was a huge hit on the History Channel. But Kevin Burns contacted me when he first was thinking of doing the show, Ancient Aliens.
Oh, yeah.
You've heard of it, right?
Yes.
So, and they started getting desperate for content and kind of got a little friendly, but the premise was correct. And he, from a couple of my websites, wanted to consult with me on my ideas of it. And he's spent a year tracking me down, trying to figure out who I was. And he's no longer with us. But they would go around the world as I did, talking to shaman and seeing all these anomalies that were built in the name of all these multiple gods that existed, and they weren't actually gods. They were an extraterrestrial species and every ancient civilization has that same type of story. Civilizations that didn't know each other existed. So and you see these 100-ton stones that got perfectly put into place, and how did these people do that on their own?
Right.
I mean, it's so. That was another source of fascination, is where humanity came from.
Yes.
And basically, as the Sumerians said, there was this race of beings, the Anunnaki, they called them, from a star called Nibiru, that came down and took Neanderthal, spliced their DNA with Neanderthal, and boof, made us 100,000 years ago. And explained the missing link perfectly. Because there's no trace of us beyond that 100,000 years.
Right.
So I really went headfirst into all that as well, trying to figure out where that's just my opinion. And you're entitled to it. No. But all these ancient cultures basically saying the same thing. It was obvious it couldn't be coincidence. And, they all had the same similar type flood stories and whatnot. But it just was really a source of fascination for me. And the Sumerians wrote it all down in cuneiform clay tablets that you can go to museums and see. And Zachariah Sitchin did a book series called The Earth Chronicles, and he basically transcribed these things, and that's exactly what the Sumerians, which is our cradle of civilization that spawned all the other civilizations, said that this is where, this is who gave us mathematics, and, the Maya, they all have that same type of story, so that was fascinating for me.
Yes, I mean it makes sense that it's kind of like our extraterrestrial older brothers and sisters, right? It's like they kind of have an eye on us, and they're like, oh, bless their heart. Like they're almost getting it, but they don't quite get it. I mean, it makes sense that they're like, let me, if you're open to it, well, here's a little bit of help. You know?
Right. And people say, well, if they're out there, why don't they make contact if there's intelligent life? And I said, I think the fact that they don't make contact shows that they're intelligent.
I do too.
I mean, would you want to make contact? I mean, we're still lobbing bombs at each other. And
that's the
so
thing.
we're still we're not even a class 1 civilization yet.
Right.
We're still using fossil fuels. So.
Right. They know that it's not that they can't approach us. It's that if they did, we're so dumb right now, we would try to blow them up with nuclear
we must
warheads,
be a fascinating study, though. I mean, because we have all these quirks, and then we have this beautiful side of us that, gives us the arts. And, so that, I'm sure they just must be shaking their heads going, man, on one hand, they're so amazing in making all these leaps and bounds. On the other hand, they're still, tribal, with their spears and, it's,
right.
So, but I have no doubt that we're being observed probably by who knows how many.
Yes.
And the fact that it's coming out now with the congressional hearings about all these pilots saying, these things have been out there and we haven't been able to say anything, but they run circles around us. There's nothing we can do, and thank goodness they're not aggressive, because we wouldn't have a chance.
Absolutely.
So that's pretty profound.
Yes. And that's how
profound.
I feel like we can know that they're coming out of neutrality or even positivity, because if they have the ability to come here, then of course they have the ability to harm us.
Yeah.
But that's not happening.
A civilization that advanced, they would be so beyond that.
They're so beyond that.
So,
exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
100%, which is a good thing.
Right.
But that's. Have you watched any of those hearings at all, where these guys, these pilots are telling Congress about all these things that, and this has been going on for years, right off our coast and the East Coast. And then now they have a form where they can talk about it, whereas before it's like, you didn't say anything. Airline pilots. And so every time I fly, I would ask, hey, how you doing? Hey, you ever seen anything weird? And they're almost any pilot that has 1,000 hours or more, it's like, oh yeah, there's weird things out there that we can't understand. And you have all these recordings of cockpits to tower, these things, the size, just these huge things coming and basically parallel the aircraft, and something comes out, goes around the aircraft, comes back in, and the thing takes off. I mean, that's such a common thing. But back even in World War II, they called them Foo Fighters. And the Germans thought it was us. We thought it was the Germans, but these things that would come, they thought it was this high-tech aircraft. And it turns out, no, it was just, that's what they called it. That's where the band got their name, the Foo Fighters.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah, anyway.
Great music reference
then. As I told you earlier, I'm not a huge disclosure proponent. I'm not like, oh, you need to believe, I mean, look at the data and come to your own conclusion. But we're not, we're more ready now than we were, but that's going to be a paradigm shift of humanity when this comes to the forefront.
There's positives and negatives and everything, and part of the positives of the being in the age of technology and communication
and AI especially, that's going to be just we need to be very careful.
Yes. And we all have so much more access to so much more information now that don't you feel like that's what kind of is laying the groundwork for people to be able to disclose a little bit more than they could before.
Absolutely.
Before you could just be hushed in a corner and threatened with your life.
Yeah, we're real close to having the quantum cloud, to where the days of download and upload will be gone. So you want this, boom, it's instantaneous. You know what I mean? So quantum computing is really going to be, it already is a game changer. It's coming so much faster than anyone predicted. It's just like leaps and bounds. And everyone in the tech industry that I know is like, humanity better keep an eye, better be careful, because we're still in that, in the wrong hands, it can have the wrong. Anyway, it's very frustrating, because it's we're at an age where we could do so much if we got on the same page and work together as a species.
Yes.
Yet we're still, lobbing bombs at one another. It drives me crazy.
Yeah.
It really
does. Same with me.
Anyway, that's.
Yeah, but just like music, as we agree, is like a universal language. I think it. For you, what does. Okay, here's an interesting place we can go, because I'm sure that you have things you can say about how music is really just geometry for the ear, and kind of the other way
Vibrations
around.
and, yeah.
And so if I was just hearing this the other day, like if the light waves were slowed way down, they look similar to sound waves. You know, it's like everything is light, just at different frequencies and densities.
Yes.
And so even the harmonics of, you know, they have recordings. I think you can go online and listen to, this is what Saturn sounds like. This is what Jupiter sounds like, you know, and like the recording of the crickets that they slowed way down. Have you heard that?
I heard about it. I haven't actually heard.
Yeah, if you can just like YouTube it, it sounds like
I'm
a
sure
symphony
that's
orchestra.
very interesting. Yeah, I'm sure that would be very cool.
Yeah,
And
it's like, and you feel something when you're listening to it, like, what is this majesty? Like, and it's just a bunch of crickets in a field.
I've
But
heard the same type of study, except with whales, like whales, language, and dolphins and stuff.
I'm sure whales and dolphins, and they're so intelligent.
Good communicators, yeah.
Yeah, it would be amazing to know what they're
I think
actually saying
they're
to
actually
each
probably
other.
the most intelligent life on this planet. 'Cause they don't go after one another because of greed and things like that. They're just like, let's work together for the common good, and it's all about survival of the fittest and whatnot. So,
well, I've also heard theories that it was actually harmonics and intervals in music that they used to build the Great Pyramids and things like that. That's one of the theories, right? It's like that it couldn't have been done with brute strength, and so they somehow employed like the measurements on the pyramids are so that they allow, almost like using a prism to like tap into the energy of things out further in the universe.
Have you ever been there?
I have not.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing when you think about it and you look, and you think about it. It really is a mind blowing. And the same thing in South America. There's all these, the same type of things, this pyramid structures and how they, quarried it and moved it, and it's. You have these 50, 100-ton stones that you can't get a razor blade in between, and I mean, it's just. And there's sites like that all over the world that they're just still discovering. I mean, it's pretty cool.
Right.
With all the gods and goddesses of mythology, I think were actually true, and they were ruling. So if you have an Anunnaki breed with a human, their offspring would be demigods, and those are the royal bloodlines that have trickled down to this day.
Okay.
And they got a little freaky because they were so intent on trying to keep the bloodlines pure that they would, brothers and sisters and cousins breeding, and so the things kind of went awry. But when you look at the history of all the beautiful things that were built in homage to these gods that didn't exist, I think there's something to it,
I absolutely do too.
Yeah, it's
just like all the stories about fairies and pixies and dragons and mermaids. It's like that can't all be just made up. Like, where did all that come from?
It comes from something.
There is a realm. There is a realm.
And the world is flat, as you know. So
yes, of course, we can walk right off the end.
The flat earthers love me. Is he being serious?
Well, I really liked something that you said. You said if you can command your memories to, when I go on, you're going to remember your experience here and carry that forward. Let's go down that line a little bit. So that's something that I'm really curious about is starting to come to terms with the idea that I am the creator of my experience.
Absolutely, 100%. The synapses in our brains will listen to you and respond accordingly, and and you'll have a physiological response as well. As you know, I've lived that, and I've tested it, and apparently there's something to it. So it's it makes sense to me because all energy has to go somewhere, and it has a purpose, and it, not necessarily in this dimension, but I'm convinced that that's how it works.
So, let's dive into a little bit more of your experience and why you are so convinced. So, if I may, you had a diagnosis a few months back.
Bladder cancer, yes. And it wasn't good. The doctors told me, you should get your affairs in order.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, okay. And it, kind of came out of nowhere. And so I started doing a nightly meditation where I would command the T cells in my body, and I pictured them as Roman soldiers, I said, go and fight those cells, expel them, blah, blah. And every night I would imagine them going and animated cells going in and conquering these bad cells that were, basically are on the crust of getting into my muscle, which is bad. And after 2 weeks of that, and going for another MRI, and the doctors said, we want you to come in. We want to talk to you. And I said, sure, okay. And they said, your last what this basically has stopped in its tracks. And
After 2 weeks?
we want to know how's that changed what did you do? And I said, nothing really. I said, as far as change my lifestyle, nothing. But I did do some meditation, and here's what I did, and here's how I think it works. And I command, the synapses in my brain told the cells in my body to go fight, and that's what happened, and that's all I got. And so there was a professor from UCLA, UCI, and then 2 doctors at Kaiser that were in on this call because they were all freaked out by it. And they said, well, there's a lot of data that backs that up, but there's also a lot of data that says it's bunk. And I said, well, the data that says it's bunk is because the people that were studied or whatever did not believe 100% that they had that power to do that. And I believe 100% that
right?
I did. Yeah. And I said, I'm convinced that that's how it works. And I had nothing to lose. And it only took me, as I go to sleep, that's what I would do.
Right.
And so they're still blown away by it.
Yeah.
They're still blown away by it. So, and I think that works across the board for any illness.
Yeah.
You can command your body. You're the supreme commander, and command your body to fight. And the frame of mind is so important for any illness to try and to beat it.
Wow.
And if you think you're doomed, you're probably going to be doomed.
Right.
If you think, I can fight this and I'm not ready yet, your body will respond. And that's it. I was even blown away by it. I was like, I've got nothing to lose. I mean, that's how it works, but doesn't mean it's going to work. And for me, it worked. So that's why, because I'm a very private person, but that's why I posted about it.
Yes.
Because I made a long post saying, here's my experience. And if you're dealing with something, give it a shot. You never know. And then I was surprised that people that contacted me saying, oh my, I had someone had the same experience or whatever. And so there was a lot of collaboration on it. And a lot of people saying, I'm going to try it. Thank you so much. And have since gotten back to me and saying there's been a change. So there's something to it.
So you're creating a ripple effect too.
Yeah. And that's the only, otherwise I would have never posted anything about it. But
yeah.
I thought, I have to share this because it's profound that,
Yes.
it happened like that. And as of now, I'm good to go. It's like it almost didn't happen. And they were saying, get your affairs in order. So it's kind of a freaky thing.
Absolutely incredible.
And I feel just chipper as ever. I mean, like, had I not gone, I'd have never known anything would have happened had it not been for just the tests and the MRIs and the things coming back. Because I felt no different. So it's kind of odd. But that's, if it could connect with one person and help one person, it was worth for me to, kind of put myself out there.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I don't believe in coincidence. I think I believe in synchronicities, and as long as our eyes are open to notice them,
sure.
And when I saw that post from you, I just was like, I was in tears. I was reading it. First of all, like, amazing that you were able to turn that around, and I'm so glad that you were okay. I'm glad that that's the story you were able to tell, and not, here's the story, it's not looking good,
Right. Which had it been like that, I wouldn't have said anything.
Probably wouldn't have even said anything.
I'm contrary to my exuberant personality, I'm a neuragophobe, basically. I'm not comfortable in big crowds, even though I can fake it. I'm a very private person, but I thought this is too profound of a thing to happen not to experience, or not to share the experience with others. And I'm glad I did, because I've had a huge outpouring of people saying, thanking me. So that brought me to tears as well, that,
yes.
I could actually do some good besides posting pictures of my cat.
Yes, and a reminder. Yes, we love your cat pictures
my
too.
Little Fabio.
Fabio. But yes, it's a reminder that when we think something is our experience, it's just a reminder of how interconnected we all are, though, right?
Indeed, we are.
Because in you sharing that, it had this ripple effect to where all these people said, wait a second, if that's possible, then maybe I should try that too. And then they were able to try it for themselves. And that's why I wanted you to come here and tell that story with our audience as well, because I just agree that it's too profound of a message not to be shared as big as you feel comfortable sharing.
Yeah.
Because I think that sometimes before people have come to realize it, we think that we're a victim of our circumstances and that life is happening to us. And then at some point you start noticing, wait a second, when I push this button, this happens.
Yeah.
That maybe I have a lot more, I don't like to use the word control, but I have a lot more effect on the mirror that's being projected back to me than I realized, you
Sure.
know? And so this idea that if I am the commander of this ship, then I should be able to talk to all the soldiers that are on it, you know, and direct what we want to happen here. And that's what you were able to do inside of your body.
Yeah, and it's tough, doing it on faith or just thinking it might happen.
Right.
For me, it was absolute because I've been studying quantum mechanics and how particles work, and I was convinced 100% that that's how things work, and that made the difference for me. But if you don't have that confident that this can happen, then it probably won't. So it's really important to believe in the power that you have over your physical body.
Yes. Let's go there for a second. I do also agree with you that faith or conviction in your beliefs is such an important component of this kind of spirituality,
Yeah.
this understanding of how we interact with our inner world and our outer world, so to speak, or everyone around us, of how we're connected, is there has to be a foundational level of belief there that there is an interconnectedness, right?
There is, and we underestimate the impact that we can have on other people. I just posted something a couple of days ago about my boys. We went to a Polly's Pies, and there was these 4 little old ladies walking up the door, and they rushed up to open the door for them. But the ladies thought they were being rude kids.
Yes.
And when they opened the door, and Mac said, enjoy your breakfast, girls. He said, girls. And these little old ladies went from bent over to, and their whole demeanor changed, their whole posture, the whole vibe of their, and it just to see how they reacted, they started giggling. And Mac and Luke they loved the fact that something that cost them nothing except to open a door can have such an impact on someone's day.
Yes.
And they've been doing that for a long time now, because manners are so important to me, and they just love being able to have that effect on people because they get it. And so there's these little random acts of kindness to one another can go a long ways. I mean, I'm the first person to let the person merge in. Instead of, you always have the people, oh, you're not getting in.
Yes.
But I'm like, and people are like, thank you so much. And I'm the same way. If someone lets me in, I'm like, thank you. I let them know how much I appreciate it. Just from the car. And that's little things like that. If you make someone's day better, in turn, they might make someone else's day better.
Yes,
and that's,
the ripple
it can
effect
have that
again.
ripple effect. Absolutely. The laws of cause and effect and the laws of attraction.
Yes,
Very
absolutely.
Critical to our humanity, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what do you think are the other critical components that helped you allow to have such a big transformation like that? So one was the belief that it was possible, that you could. I heard you mention visualization.
Yeah. So just visualizing, little Roman soldiers, legion of Roman cells of, dressed like little Roman legionnaires going to fight these bad cells and to expel them from my body. And it's, and I almost made almost like a cartoon out of it in my mind, in my visualization. And I'm so convinced that that's how it works, that made the difference for me. And most people would not know how, on the quantum particle level, how that could work.
Yes.
But the fact that I did, it made the difference, because I was like 100% absolute that this is how particles work, and so it should work, and it did.
Have you read Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself?
No.
Okay, so Dr. Joe Dispenza goes on to tell this story, and in a lot of his works he mentions it, but when he had this horrible accident on his bike in traffic, and it wrecked his whole spine, and he's a chiropractor. And so he knew the spine very well.
Sure.
And he also talks about the way that he healed his spine was every day for like 2 hours or something. He would visualize rebuilding the spine vertebrate by vertebrate.
What was the name again?
Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Okay, if you go on. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and so I'll send you the book links and stuff. But
wow, very cool.
that's and it became to be like the thing that propelled his whole career, and that's what he is teaching people. You would really vibe with him. You would like all the stuff he's about. It's all
I'm fascinated
the
already.
Same stuff that you're into. But that's what he talks about is like because he had that knowledge, he was able to very vividly picture in his mind, like the actual rebuilding, and he couldn't move. He was in a full body cast, and so he would just close his eyes, go into deep meditation, and he would picture rebuilding his own spine, and he believed that he could. They told him he'd never stand, sit, walk again, anything, and to see him today, he's like a completely normal
what a great
being.
story. I love that. That gives me, that's wow, that's
that
just shows you that the power of oneself, and that it can happen. That's
yes.
Thank you for sharing that with me.
Yes, it just reminded me a lot of your story, and I think the more of these examples that we have to share with people, it's empowering. It's not meant to shame anyone in any way. It's just to kind of like open your eyes that there is another way that you might not have opened your eyes to.
Yeah. And that's what these doctors mentioned. Is there's different studies and different people that claim that they've taken some sort of medicinal, glob of whatever,
yes,
and it healed them, and they can't understand why. I said it's not the stuff that they took; it's the power that they believed it would heal them.
Yes,
is what healed them.
Right,
and they're like, "Whoa," because that to me is what it is. Mm-hmm. It's not what they took; it's that they believed 100% that it would work.
Absolutely, so the placebo effect. And
I was just gonna say,
yeah.
Get off my wave. Yeah, exactly.
We're just in sync here.
Exactly.
Yeah, that they've already acknowledged that that's a thing.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So, but absolutely, the reason why that's a thing is because it's the belief system behind it.
Yeah, and it's the power to understand that your body will react if you command it to. I mean, that's how it's wired.
Yes.
On the subatomic level, it really
yes.
is. It's a fascinating subject for me because it's just an ongoing discovery of different things. It's like the whole multiverse thing came from the singularity to the Big Bang. That came from me trying to figure out how this ship just poof, and it's just, in flash was gone. It's this huge thing, and the same quantum mechanics that allowed for that allows for the singularity to the Big Bang of how our universe came about on the multiple dimensions. So that's all the same type of equations that, So it's because I didn't go looking to solve the singularity of the Big Bang. It just happened along.
Amazing.
So it's kind of, So on my Church of Critical Thinking, I called it the baby BigAng theory.
Uh-huh.
It's just a baby bang from another dimension. And so that's 25 years ago, and I got laughed at. It's like, oh, this guy's crazy. Because I was interacting with physicists from all over the world in news groups.
Uh-huh.
And I was anonymous, but they just thought I was, but the more I started posting, and then I coined the Higgs boson would be verified, and they're like, who is this guy? And why doesn't he want credit or whatever? It's like, I'm not about the credit. I'm about the betterment of humanity, So I put everything out there. And I just assumed not be in the limelight. That's why I could never handle being famous. I could never handle walking into a restaurant and having people go, psh, or having someone follow me around and try and get photos. That's my biggest mind freak. So never had a desire to be famous. I love being behind the scenes, but fame is a tough thing. If look, Michael Jackson, Britney Spears, look what fame does to people.
Absolutely, it can destroy
you. Want it, you better be ready for what it entails, because that's, to me, again, Chris Martin and Gwyneth Powell, they were on some island in the middle of nowhere, thought they were by themselves. And then Chris sees this photographer from way in the distance taking photos of him. So he goes over and confronts him, belts him, and it was a lawsuit. But, but I'm sorry, Chris, but that's, and actually he said, what are you doing here? And he said, I'm not here for you, Mr. Paltrow. And Chris went and knocked him. He's a singer of Coldplay, right?
Uh-huh.
So, but that's what you get. If you want to be famous, you have to be ready to handle that, because that's what's going to happen.
Whole bag,
and
right?
I'd be the same way. It's like, what do you. So I understand that. So that's why fame is.
Yeah.
I always like to be behind, the guy behind the curtain.
I
kind of
can
thing. I'm
totally
more
get
comfortable
that.
there.
And because you had 4 million followers,
Almost,
looking at
yeah,
all this
yeah.
stuff.
When I shut it down, it was real close.
Yeah. So had you
And
not been
they're still in a
anonymous-
database. They're still they
Yeah.
basically signed up to be part of my church. And I had a donation page. When you clicked on it, I said, "Sorry, we don't accept donations. Find another church." They loved that,
Oh,
just a little quirky
wow.
because I'm a quirky writer and I'm very
Yes, you are.
sarcastic. And I had, I was tough on organized religion. I cataloged all these guys that got busted for fraud and all the, because it really, so late one night in bed, I was watching this guy I used to watch these religious channels for morbid entertainment, and he was selling this little vial of holy water blessed by someone
wow.
high up in the Vatican. And
Oh,
if you send your
wow.
$45 love gift, you sprinkle this holy water and God will come in and change your life. And these guys are getting away with this tax-free. And this is back when I was paying huge tax checks. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
No taxes. So I that's one of the things that spurred me to do this Church of Critical Thinking, because it really angered me that these guys were getting away with this tax-free. It's like, so anyway, don't want
All
to
in
get
the
into
name of God, right?
Yeah, and it's, there's 8,000 different religions, and so 7,999 are wrong.
Yeah, yeah. Right.
See, religion is basically on where you were born. That's,
Yeah.
so it's a geographical thing.
Yeah.
But, and to each his own, people are going to be people, but the fact that they weren't paying taxes, and when I was paying, into a government that was doing this war in Iraq, it made me livid. I was just like, so I'm going to do something about it. And so the Church of Critical Thinking came about. Just take critical thinking and apply it to everything and your life will be a lot better, because you'll have a sense of enlightenment because you come to your own conclusions and you're not taking the word of anything or anyone else.
Absolutely. I think
it was a hit.
Yeah,
So,
it sounds like it
people like the
clearly
idea.
was. Yeah, and what a gift that you're able to give. I think that we all come into this incarnation with kind of a role that we either signed up for or, we agreed to take on, and we're not all meant to be famous. That is like you said, a duty and a responsibility on its own.
Yeah.
Because you got to take the positive and the negative
Yeah.
with any role. And you had this huge revelation that came to you through your experiences and knowing, like experiential knowledge, right? And then you were able to pass that on, and you said, I really don't want to play this role of famous guy. I'm just here to help share this knowledge.
No, I was
the
grand poobah high priest. I totally was a sarcastic leader. No one had any clue of who I actually was.
Yeah.
So I just played it up and made fun of it. But that's it's made me sleep better at night. But it's funny because Google actually spent a year trying to track me down because they wanted to know who I was, how I figured out their algorithm. They were like, because I had my own search site, loveandromance.com. And you could search it, and it had all my databases for personal ads or whatever. And it basically, it started taking off, and they're like, and they could, they monitor their search queries, because when they did the Google dance, everything would shift. And sometimes people would do queries, and the first 10 results would all be my different sites and pages. And they're like, how did this guy do this?
Yes.
And I was a meta editor for the DMOZ, which was a Google used for a while, which was basically human edited sites that went into categories. So I was an editor there. So I did all the right things to do that, behind the scenes. And I was very fair as far as letting other sites in. But if you were spamming, you wouldn't get in. And all my content was handwritten, and there was no spam. I never did any flashing ads, redirects, or anything like that, because when I went to a site and got redirected on a page, it pissed me off. I'd never go back. So I never did that. And so I had a huge quality of traffic because I didn't do that to people. And all my everything, there was no mirror pages or anything like that. It was all original content, very good content that people got stuff from. So people would say, oh, check this site out. So when people were referring sites, the algorithm sees that and say, well, this must be a quality site because all these people were referring it. And so I figured all that out. And so they tracked me down and said, do you want a job? And I'm like, no, I'm good. But the fact that they did that was pretty pretty. I got a nice tour of the Irvine Newport office up here, but
Oh, wow.
it was very it was nice to be asked.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're like, well, what would it take? I'm like, I'm good, because I'm not about. I'm not about the money,
Wow.
When I sold my networks, I gave most of it away. Told you the story about the water in
Yes.
Africa and all that. So,
Yes.
I had enough to get by and have a comfortable life. But, and I love the fact that guys like Bill Gates, I'm giving it all away. It's like, you damn well better,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
help humanity, and that's how it should be. I mean, what else are you going to do with it?
Mm-hmm.
So that's it was nice to be entertained by them to offer me a job.
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Well, that's a beautiful life philosophy that you have. It seems like whatever's coming to you, you let it just kind of flow on through, and you pass that energy on to the collective.
Yeah,
And,
yeah, that's gratitude's a huge thing. I mean,
Yes.
as I told you, my story about this gal that wanted to give me directions with walking back to her village with water on her head. I was
Yes,
like,
yes.
that was a life-changing event for me. I was just like, the fact that she would do that with a smile on her face, I was just like, and I have running water and indoor plumbing. I have everything I need. I'm
Yes.
good. You know what I mean? It's when you see people living in these, it's very humbling. It makes you better. I think every high school student should be. It should be mandatory for them to travel for 6 months around the world before they,
Oh, yes.
because it sure made a difference for me to see how people with next to nothing would offer their shirt off their back for me. It's like, come on in, let's feed you. I mean, I'm talking
Yes.
about places that our government considered the axis of evil.
Right.
Persian, Iran, what's going on now? It's not the people, it's the leadership, the
Absolutely.
religious leadership. The people are wonderful. And they love Americans.
Uh-huh.
And it makes me mad that. The people gets lumped up into this the religious,
Yes.
and they're when they had an uprising a few years ago, I was like, we need to stand behind these people and support their uprising, because they really want out from underneath it. They don't want the moral police to come and arrest them because they're kissing in public. That's
Right.
ridiculous.
Right.
And Saudi Arabia is the worst. I mean, women's rights. Women can't drive. They can't talk to. I mean, I was just like, and they're our ally. Come on.
Right.
So
Right.
I was very outspoken about all that.
That's good. Well,
Yeah.
that's the thing, is that the information that
Yeah.
we're receiving when
Yeah,
you're
I
not
was
there is very
for you
filtered.
chicks. I was in your corner.
Thank you.
Yeah, and it just enraged me that Saudi Arabia being our ally, and these women just have no. I mean, even still, it's getting a little better, but I mean, having to wear. I mean, anyway, don't get me started. I think you girls should have the right to vote and be part of society. So.
That's a pretty
I mean,
radical
we should let you
stance.
drive. I know it's radical, but I'm coming around. So
Yeah,
Anyway.
yeah. No, you're right. Just going out on your own and experiencing some of the world just puts everything in perspective.
It really does.
And you go, oh, maybe
it
all the
really-
information I've been fed wasn't quite the full picture.
Yes, exactly right.
And so then, like you're always saying, then you can make your own informed decisions based on what you see.
Yeah, that's not too much to ask. And
Yeah.
you'll be better off for it.
Yeah.
You really will. I mean, that's one of the reasons I know that the site it did so well, is because there was no agenda. I wasn't selling any books. I wasn't directing, it was just here's my opinion. Take the information if it interests you and learn how to research it on your own and come
I
to your
love
own
that.
conclusion. And people, this is a church I want to belong to.
Yeah,
So-
totally. Well, Rip, I think that will certainly serve you in your subsequent lifetimes. You've created some great karma
Julie, it's
for
been an
yourself.
absolute pleasure chatting with. I could go on all day with you.
Oh, I know.
I
We
love
absolutely
I love
could.
your vibe, your intellect. I mean, I've always been very impressed by you. So when
thank
you
you.
put that out there, I was like, let's do it. Absolutely.
feeling is
I'm your
mutual.
huckleberry. So
Every time you post stuff that's very much about universal ideas and things, I'm like, I understand about half of this, but I'm very interested.
I try so hard not to be like, I'm, it's all about me, blah, blah, blah.
It's not
People say, oh,
pretentious.
you're so smart. I'm like, no, I'm well read on certain subjects.
Yes.
I'm no more or less intelligent than anyone else. That's just, I was spurred on early on to, read about stuff that interested me.
Yes.
So I'm well read, but not more intelligent than anyone else. Just in certain subjects,
I love that. Yeah, we all
Yeah.
have our areas that we
Sure.
are experts in.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Ah.
And I like sharing, positive things if possible.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
We need more of that.
We do.
Yeah.
Well, before I let you go, I have a couple of fun questions
'Kay.
I'd like to just fire at you, and
Okay.
then the Star Potential audience can get to know you a little bit
Awesome, Julie.
even more. Okay, Rip, as a kid, what did you always want to be when you grew up?
Bruce Lee.
Bruce Lee. Oh, and
I
then
met Bruce Lee when I was a kid in the Valley.
Oh my
And
gosh, that's amazing.
I was a martial arts junkie ever since, and I thought I just
You
want to be
still
a
are,
martial
right?
arts movie star.
Yes,
And it
yes.
didn't last long, but that's as a kid that was yeah.
And you
Dude, I wanted to
taught,
be-
right? And with your and
I
your
had
boys
two. I had
now?
two karate schools. Yeah,
I thought so.
Yeah, I got out of it because I couldn't regulate the business. It was, some places if you wanted a black belt, you could just pay enough money and you get your black belt. It's
Yeah.
like it's not about fighting. It's about art.
Yes.
And it really is. And a lot of so when I got Mac into Kung Fu, I went to 3 different places. I said, can you, walked in, jiu-jitsu, can you teach my son to kick ass? They're like, absolutely, sir. I'm like, thank you, have a nice day. And when I found Wushu Academy, same thing. It's like, I'm sorry, sir, that's not what we're about. And I'm like, where do I sign up?
Oh, I
Perfect
love
dancer.
it.
So that's, anyway, don't want to go.
That's great.
Yeah.
No. Okay, which season of the year makes you feel most alive?
Any season but summer. I don't do heat well.
Uh-huh.
I just don't like the heat. But if I had to choose, it would be any season but summer.
Okay. Yeah, I can relate to that. This one's going to be so fun for you. If you had a theme song for every time Rip made an entrance, what would it be?
Henry Mancini. Theme of the Pink Panther. Dun, dun, dun,
Of course.
Yeah, because I kind of like to have that kind of chill. Yeah.
You got a little bit of slink, a little bit of mystery.
Yeah, the Pink Panther thing.
I love that answer. Finish this sentence. When I'm 80, I'll be...
Lucky. To be 80. Yeah,
Okay.
I'll consider myself very lucky.
I like that. It goes along with your whole idea of just grateful for each experience and moment.
Yeah. Part of me is really looking forward to what's next, though, too. I don't want to be in a position to where someone needs to wait on me. I mean, that to me is just not, there's nothing that appeals to me about that at all. When I'm ready to go, I want to go, and I want to see what's next, where I'm going to end up.
I feel like when you're 80, you're still going to be rocking, though.
It's certainly a possibility. I don't
Yeah.
disregard it. So,
What's your favorite dessert?
peach cobbler and vanilla ice cream.
That does
that's
sound
really, if I
good.
had to choose desert island, the only dessert I could have, that would be it.
That does sound...
Chocolate chip cookies, fresh baked, close second.
That's mine.
Yeah.
It's just hard to beat. And what's a book that you would recommend for everyone to read?
So, one of my first books that I read before my first trip to Europe, backpacking for 45 days, first class Euro, was a book called World Walk.
Okay.
And it's about a guy who basically walked around the world and had no money, relied on other people to get him through it. And it's an amazing book. It really shows how humanity can be. For a traveler, it's a great book. And it's like 1988, 89. It's an old book, but it resonated with me because I had just hitchhiked across the country from
Wow.
Indiana, ran away from home, and I was stunned on how many people would pick me up, take me home, feed me, and take me back to the highway and want nothing in return. And I was
Amazing.
and I was, I wouldn't have picked me up. This is back when hitchhiking was still kind of a cool thing to do, but I mean, I was just amazed at how many people would just go out of the way to help someone they didn't know. And funny, the guy that wrote this book said that his worst problems that he had was in this country, but the rest of the places around the world, it's a great book on how people would go out of the way to help this guy. And he wrote it all down. So World Walk.
Okay, I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, and I feel like people pick up on your energy too. People like to help other people that they have a good sense, of who they are. And so I think that's a good place for us to end today, because you talked to me about that when I was going through a hard time. You said, if anything, you learn to be a better judge of listening to your intuition and picking up on the energy of other people. And I haven't forgotten that.
I'm so glad. Well, I've always just adored everything about you. I think you're a phenomenal human being, so talented.
Aw.
And I've always kind of regretted that because I was having fun playing with you and sing, I thought that
Yes.
was so cool. But I'm so glad that you're still doing music. I think you were meant to do it. And this is a great avenue for you as well. So thanks for having me,
I
Julie.
received that. Thank you so much for your time, and thanks for sharing.
Well, good,
all of
because
your
it's all
insight
about me and
with
what you
us.
can do for me.
Yeah, clearly.
And I'd like to thank Joel for helping us out,
Absolutely.
my Wizard of Mo.
Shout out to
behind
Joel back there. Thank you so much for running the audio and the clips here today that we're going to be able to use. It's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Okay, are we cut up? Let's get the hell out. I'm so tired of this.
Let's go over some of our key takeaways from this exciting conversation. When we really start to look for it, there's evidence everywhere of how interconnected it all is. This world is fractal in nature, and we can look to quantum mechanics to understand it. Energy is neither created nor destroyed, but transferred from one form to another. I loved Rip's idea that he can command his body to remember the experiences that he's having here, and wherever his energy particles go after this, that they maintain some sort of memory of his experiences here in this lifetime. Isn't that beautiful? Facing the unknown often awakens the truest parts of ourselves. We don't need to fear the unknown, only to bravely explore it. As technology propels us forward, Rip is adamant that music and the arts anchor us in who we are, reminding us of our shared heritage and potential. The arts bring us together. The arts can be a catalyst for the unification of our entire species. Unity is found in our diversity, whether through the universal language of music or the universal language of kindness. We find how interconnected we all really are. The ripple effect. We may never know the full reach of our positive actions. Heal yourself, love others, and you heal the world. Critical thinking allows you to come to your own conclusions. It really is our friend. For Rip, creativity became an outlet not just for expression, but for survival and transformation. If we truly embrace our ability to create, there is no limit to our potential. The body and the mind are interwoven. Your beliefs have incredible power. Remember, you are the commander of your ship. Your body communicates to you clearly, and it's a two-way conversation. If you believe you can heal your body, it is possible. But that first step of believing is of utmost importance. It's the key that opens the lock to possibility. I hope you enjoyed this enlightening conversation today. I would love to hear what came up for you as you listened. If you'd like to get in touch with Rip, I will include his email in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time. Thank you for tuning into Star Potential with Julie Jo Hughes. If this episode resonates with you, I invite you to take 2 seconds, scroll down, and click 5 stars on the rating. It's a fast and easy way to help the show gain exposure and momentum. If you're loving the show, I invite you to leave a quick review about what you love. Reviews are like gold to podcasters, and to show my gratitude, you'll be entered to win my monthly giveaway when you send me a screenshot of your review. I also made you a gift. It's a 9-minute, simple gratitude meditation with singing to help you practice mindfulness. Just visit me on Instagram at @TheJulieJo or find the link in the show notes. Thank you for your love and support. Until next time, keep shining your light. And that's a wrap.